beyond also some of the topics that we've discussed, our knowledge systems actually have a lot of wisdom that we can tap into, like we said, and apply it to several other fields. In the fields of governance, leadership, we have discussed extensively. So, can you share a few more examples of this? Because I've seen you talk about the Shanti Parv of the Mahabharata. If you could also tell us about the governance lessons that our civilizational heritage gives us.
Yeah, thanks, Kamal. I think the Shanti Parva of Mahabharata definitely has a lot. That was, as we all know, told by Bhishma to Yudhishthira in the presence of Sri Krishna himself, and the different, I mean, his whole experience of several decades was shared with Yudhishthira, who eventually was the Pandava king who led the kingdom. But Kamal, I would want to bring out something which is unique and which has probably not been studied as much. And it is from the Ramayana, and it is particularly from the Ayodhya Kanda. Now, this is very interesting. If you know the scene where Sri Ram has taken off for Vanvas, and Bharat comes home and he realizes that he's not there, and he goes and requests Sri Ram to come back and rule the kingdom of Ayodhya. And then there's a conversation that happens towards the end of Ayodhya Kanda, which is very, very important, because that is where Sri Rama gives leadership lessons to Bharata and says, you go back and rule on my behalf. Now imagine getting a leadership lesson, a public leadership lesson from Sri Ram himself, right? And he is the epitome. To this day, he's seen as the model person to all of us emulate, right? So what could be the leadership lessons that Sri Ram gave Bharata, and Bharata actually implemented it for 14 years on his behalf and led the kingdom and kept it on till he came back from his Vanvas, right? So it's a very interesting, and I would encourage all your viewers to actually go in and look at the last part of Ayodhya Kanda from the Valmiki Ramayana, and you will find this. So, and this is also the beauty of our epics, right? It is not a typical story, right? A lot of it has lessons that could be applied not just in your personal life. A lot of us apply the values given by Sri Ram in our personal life, but also in political life. In various fields of public life, you will find that our epics have a way of giving us this knowledge which can be applied, right? So he gives two different ways. First, he talks about what are the typical failings of a king, right? What could actually go wrong? What are the don'ts? What you should already know, right? Very interesting. I'll list down some of them. One is Nastikam. So that is atheism, right? That is right. Then inattention, krodh, pramadam, right? Procrastination, evading the wise, right? And we talked about senses. So something that helps you in indulging in senses, you should avoid that, right? Being alone in planning the affairs of the kingdom, right? Today we talk about teamwork, we talk about stakeholder consultation. So you should not take decisions which are on your own, right? You should involve the wise counsel. You should keep your important decisions should be kept secret. So it talks about different things, about 14 different things which typically are the failings of a king. And that is very interesting, because in one small sutra, he gives you 14 different ways that a king, downfall of a king could happen. And this is very important for you to apply it in your in leadership lessons. Because if you know what things have gone wrong previously, and you can learn it from the master himself, you could apply it in your context, right? Then he talks about what are the knowledge and skills that are needed in a king, right? So the next thing is what are the do's. And very interestingly, the first thing again he says is Indriya Jaya. So he says subjugation of the senses, and hone your senses to go beyond what is the immediate gratification that they receive. Then he talks about the three Vedas, the three branches of learning. It says the Vedas, agriculture, commerce, other vocational skills. Then about Dharma, Artha, and Kama, right? The Purusharthas. Then what are the different limbs of a state, right? What are the different, as we call the organs of the state today? What are different subjects? So it's very interesting. He talks about 8 subjects that every public leader should know. Now this is agriculture, trade, defense, building bridges, you can call infrastructure, right? Then ecology, mining, taxation, and building emergency shelters, right? So in terms of war. So in different ways, they talk about fortifications, it talks about different strategic ways of negotiating, whom to negotiate with, whom not to negotiate with, what the knowledge systems that you have to be known about, right? And again, it also talks about the same thing which you read in the Chanakya Niti about Samadana, Danda, and Veda, right? So what we realize is that right from the times of Ramayana, right, all the way up to the Arthashastra that we have the latest document, Arthashastra was building on all this. So when we say Indriya Jaya, or when we say the four expedients of negotiating, right, or the different branches of learning, the ways of fortification, what not to do, whose company to keep, all this was taught by Sri Ram to Bharata at the end of Ayodhya Kanda, and this is the basis of his learning. And you can imagine that this knowledge system was living and was transferred through a Guru Shishya Parampara to this day, right? That has been the unique feature of our education system, right? And if you see, these are not merely external skills, right? These are all very, very internal skills that you have to develop. And at Rastram, what we're trying to do is we're trying to call this the meta skills, skills that will help you develop more and more skills as the context or the time changes. This is very important, and that is a very unique aspect of our education system. And public leadership has been a part of our education since millennia. That is brought about. If we could build our curriculum based on that, and as you rightly said, Shanti Parva definitely has a lot of that. There is a lot in Mahabharata. Mahabharata itself, in a single document, a single epic, could give you so many lessons of understanding different contexts, right from not just public leadership of governing a state, but we know about international relations. I know you yourself have designed a lot of case studies and negotiation workshops based on what you see in our epics. So I think that is the knowledge system, that is our heritage, and somehow we have kept it aside and have picked up something else that doesn't relate and work for us.
Namaste. We hope you enjoyed this Chitti Media content. Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.